Partying has started.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Sherry.
Special guest.
Hey, Dan.
I thought that was your car parked out there. Nice.
It is.
Yes, special appearances. What was I trying to find here? Was our first thing was the booster deal.
Did you want to do approval of minutes?
Sure. Yeah.
There were a couple minor corrections, and David is taking care of them.
All right.
Move on now.
Now the booster station.
The
Huh?
booster thing.
All right. This is pretty easy. It's just actually a follow-up to a discussion that was had during council one evening about a month ago, and I just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page because, I, like anything else, I just want to make sure that everybody understands how different components within the water system or sewer system, whatever it is, are operating, so that we're given the same information then in turn out to the public when we're having these conversations about different things. Just a quick handout here. And I didn't print enough, so Shelley, I might look on with you here. Basically what this, and first I want to thank Jack and Todd Tandecki over in Public Works for pulling this together for me. What this is showing is the activity of our Prairie Ridge Booster Station. Everybody's familiar with where that's at. That's our wholesale water connection to Tacoma Public Utilities. We use that, we can use that to bring in up to 4 million gallons of water a day from TPU.
Right by the garbage dump.
Right by the garbage dump. Yeah, exactly. It is used, obviously, as one would believe, it's used more in the summer. So what you see here, 2021, 2022, and it's by month, and it shows the number of days that we used the Prairie Ridge Station and what it was used for, and then how much we were charged, how many gallons of water consumed, and then total billed, and then its impact on our budget. So we were budgeted in 21 for a total of $195,000 of water from TPU, and then in 2022 we budgeted $200,000. My eyes are doing horrible today. And so the difference here between routine maintenance or it says there summer demand is routine maintenance basically consists of, on a monthly basis, there's a rather long transmission main that connects to the TPU pipeline. You've got pipelines 1 and pipeline 5 up north. We're connected to pipeline 1. I don't think I have that backwards. There's a long transmission main there that historically we run the booster station once a month for 2 to 3 days to just flush that transmission main out, keep the water turned over and fresh, so that it's not sitting there with water that's months old when we go to kick it on when we need it in the summer, and we get complaints about water quality issues, odor, taste, etc. So that's what routine maintenance is. The booster station, and here's where we may have gotten a little confusing in our meeting, the booster station is always active. It is always ready to run. But right now, unless we really need it in the summer, it's only actually pumping water a couple days a month, that transmission main.
You have motors running on it then?
What was that?
You have motors running, that's not pumping? Or?
No, it's just the power's on.
Oh, okay.
It's ready to go. It's connected up to our SCADA system. Yeah. Exactly. A phone call to TPU, right. And then we get it going. So this is only provided for your information to just show you historically what we've been doing the last couple of years with that booster station. Up till now, we've done pretty good sticking with our budget. We've had some warmer temperatures, but so far not so much that it's really busted our budget. I think back to, it was actually the year before I started here, 2015, which was a year where saw some heavy usage, and I think the water utility ended up buying about $1 million worth of TPU water that year. It was extensive, and that booster station was running a lot. So that's all I really had for that. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. If not, we can move on to the other items. I just wanted you all to have that.
How much are they going to increase it? What percent?
Right now, I don't know how much they're going to increase it. Right now, we pay about $2,700, an availability fee, if you will, of $2,700 per million gallons that we have authority to be able to take from them. So each month we pay 2,700 times 4, and then add to that our consumption. In the winter, it's I think $1.36 per. I think it's just like how we rate it here, or how we meter it here, CCF. And then in the summer, it goes up to about $1.70, I think, is where they're at right now. What it's going to be for 23, I don't know yet. So
I think they were proposing a 1.7% increase, but that was going to be proposed.
Thanks, Jack.
So that's proposed at this point. Obviously, it has to go through their approval process in order for that to take effect.
And just off the cuff, do we have any ability to get the water without fluoride, since Dan continues to complain about that?
If we're taking it from TPU, no.
No, that's all fluorinated.
It's that, TPU
Doesn't
fluoridates
matter,
their
we were
water,
just
so
checking if we could make a change.
Yeah, so little compared to the rest of it.
you probably get
Well-
more in your toothpaste every day.
Well, it just blends it with our water then, doesn't it? So you just like,
Well,
You-
Yeah.
you-
And it only blends kind of that-ish more area than, because it probably never gets way over here much at all.
Yeah, the way
Hydraulics look like, but
when the booster station does kick on, staff works the valving so that most of that water ends up getting sent up and around the lake. But obviously, that's dependent upon what's going on in the distribution system at the time.
yeah,
So just depends.
yeah. Because I thought we were supposed to have taken a certain amount a year too, or something. Or is it just we have to pay the availability regardless of?
We pay the availability regardless of how
That's
much we
one.
take.
We take that, and then we don't have to take any kind of thing.
Technically, I don't think we have to take any. I'd have to check on that part. I actually have the wholesale water agreement on my desk. I just didn't get through reading it.
Oh yeah, cool.
I
Yeah.
can certainly dig into that more and come back though if you'd like.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you can send us a copy of that,
Sure.
that'd be great, because that's what I thought we had to take a certain amount each year, kind of thing. And the availability piece there.
and we use that to put back in our tanks in the winter to save.
It's our water to use
Minimum.
how we.
Yeah, so why
How we want it.
why would that be a benefit to us all instead of
So, yeah,
pumping or flowing in?
there might be a time
particularly.
component when we can take it too, or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
when we start looking at how we're pumping our water, the biggest savings that we're going to realize is through electricity costs, right? Certainly, there's potential depending upon how we run the pumps and the demand charges that we get from PSE and so on and so forth, where we might be able to mitigate some cost. It's going to be negligible.
The only requirement is having a 60-40 split between the summer and the winter time, and we have the ability to go up to 4 MGD, but that's the only requirements.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jack.
yeah.
You're
What's
welcome.
that requirement? Yeah, if you take 60% of the water has to be in the summer.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's like a 60-40% split, and again, when you see the document, we can provide you a copy of that, and it speaks to that. We're just required to take more during that time frame. That's it. But we don't have a minimum that we have to take, but we have the capability to go up to 4 MGD. We don't ever go up to that amount. It was at 2 MGD for a while, and then we bumped up to that 4, but we've never been up to at that amount.
Right. Is that so for the the flushing of the line or what have you that you guys do on that piece there, and they discovered that later in the design, or they didn't understand that when they were making the design for that thing? And it was kind of pre-you, Jack, or whatever, I think. But when we purchased it from Tacoma, it was sold to us the concept in kind of a different way, right? It was more sold of, you can use it when you want it, but you have to use it under these circumstances kind of thing. So I don't know did they come up later on and say, oh yeah, whoops, we have to, it was misdesigned, so we're required to run it every now and then for the flushing?
I don't know about any change. It's been a practice that's been existing since before Jack or I came here. My understanding in talking with Dave Siak when he was here is that they just felt it was a best management practice,
Oh yeah.
to keep that water
Oh, yeah.
turned over. I don't
Definitely, yeah.
know though that it was part of any sort of requirement to run it with TPU or anything.
Because if it has a long leg, it would, like, the chlorine level would over
Dry.
or whatever and stuff like that. So you'd have to like flush it at certain points type of thing. Because I was kind of wondering the design on that, if you're, I don't know how, how it all the mathematically works out. Because if you can put in a 50, 60, whatever, $100,000 loop or some way to flush it to the thing, and then you didn't have to use it, but it sounds like, you got 60. It's obviously very complex, right?
Yeah, I think that, and I think that transmission main I think is a 16-inch diameter line
For them or whatever.
for it coming to the booster station.
Yeah.
He's nodding.
Is that correct,
Yeah.
Jack?
Yeah, and I believe a lot of the requirements are actually coming from the Department of Health. So maybe that's probably the follow-up action on our end that we could take a look at it and see what health is requiring. Because I think that's actually where the 4 MGD number came from, was from them. And so I can take a look and see if they're the ones requiring the monthly, cleaning of it.
Sure.
So
The just to clarify, the 4 MGD number, we're physically limited to that. That's what the pumps can actually max out at currently at the station. Prior to that, it was 2 MGD.
With 2 pumps.
With the 2 pumps, and
We
then we
added
had
2
our
more.
H2 back in 2018, roughly.
Mhm.
Upgrade the booster station to an additional 2 pumps, which maxes us out of it,
Right, yeah.
which is the amount of water that I guess you will, if you will, that we purchased from
Oh,
TPO.
okay, yeah.
So Jack, with the amount of water we're using now, is there a huge need for us to push for one more source, like we have availability near the flume out there to be able to get some more water when it comes into Lake Tapps? Is that not a big concern right now?
I mean, we would love the ability to provide for our own water, but it seems like that would be a lot of cost with the last
Right.
study that was
Sure.
performed there.
You don't see a big need for it at the moment anyway.
Well, yeah, but that's one of those things, right, that you can't, you only get one shot.
Right.
Ever. Like, ever. Until the earth is flat. You're never going to it's free water.
Right.
Once you build the infrastructure, I don't think there's any ongoing cost associated with that against
Just-
this cascade.
Just
It's
maintenance
gigantic
once we build the
maintenance,
equipment, Yeah. So yes, there is the 2 million gallons per day of regional reserve water as part of our agreement with Cascade that the city purchased. But as Jack pointed out, and our H2 documented in their study they did for us a couple of years ago, planning level costs are nearly, for the cheap option, I think it was nearly $10 million
My God.
to
I
try and
never
get the
heard that number
infrastructure
before.
in place. So when we're talking about a utility where there's an outcry about rates, I don't know that that's an option we want to
It
evaluate.
should be an option, it's one of the fundamental things in life, right? Whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting.
Well, as we keep growing the need for water in our city and stuff, I mean,
Right now, our water system plan documents that our sources are capable of supplying the expected demand due to population for quite some time. I think that's out to the 2040 planning window. But certainly, if the option is there and we're willing to bear the costs, never hurts to have more.
It's time limited, the time expires.
It is.
right. I remember talking
You
before.
have to
I'm aware of that. Yeah.
make it work.
2030 is the deadline for us having that. Yep.
Where does Chahali get their water from? Is there all wells?
Home water.
Yeah, I believe they're off the
Right?
pipeline.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Wow. Almost run out of water eventually. It's good,
That's a big lake.
Yeah.
I've been around it a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Questions? No? You're good? Okay.
Great.
Yay.
Let's see.
Other sundry little BS issues that I had there.
Yeah. What was the next item there, Dan?
cancel.
Yeah, I know you did, and I was like, well, we can find something to talk about, right? If not, we can talk about the sewer or something like
We're taking a ramble for a
Traffic
walk,
issues.
you know?
that.
So
Parking lot meter, you're probably still working with the vendors or something.
still working with the vendors. However, I did get a quote for the provision of 6 pay-to-park machines, if you will, to be placed at Bonney Lake or at Allen York Park. These systems, and I brought in some information. It'd probably be better if I just email some of this promotional material to you. But it allows us to people to pay for parking by license plate. Instead of like numbering the spots or having any other kind of system. Anyways, long story short, to get
Cool.
6 because
Cool.
the
Interesting.
the systems, they're by a company called T2, and I can leave that with you all and you can pass it around if you'd like. T2 is one of the big players in the parking industry. The units that they quoted us are solar powered, so there's no need to run extra power to them or anything like that. They actually, the solar system works to charge a battery.
Yeah.
And I asked him specifically, they're based in Vancouver, Canada. So he expected that, we had a question about the solar condition. And he said that they've got them installed in various places in Western Washington, no problems. They don't need direct sunlight. They just need exposure to the sky.
It's probably just a little cellular device or something.
And then it does communicate via cellular for any sort of, as from the enforcement perspective, there would need to be some real-time communication. And so the cellular communication part of these systems allows the system to be queried by, say, in this case, maybe the police department's driving through a parking lot. They can enter license plate numbers in the system
Weird.
and then find out if they're currently paid or not, and so on. They say that for parking lots, it's roughly 1 machine per 50 spots. So he and I, the gentleman from T2, and I quickly took a look at an aerial photo, kind of took an approximate stab at, the number of spaces in the different lots, came up with a need for 6 of these units. The total comes out to $69,047.58.
What was your budget for?
60. So, it's still something doable. I don't know what the direction would be at this point. If there is a desire to continue to move forward with this, we can certainly do so. There's been a lot of changes out at the park, which is why we had kind of backed off from it. But
Not like you easily could move it though if we had to change later on. This are just.
I don't have a whole lot of experience with them, but I assume you can unbolt them from one location and pour a concrete pad and bolt them somewhere else. There's no power to connect to them or anything, so.
They're leasing the new apartments down there now, just signs up as for lease.
That's right.
More or less.
Well, there you go.
They're
Brian,
ready to
does
rock
that
and
have
roll.
a pay by app feature?
It
Because
does.
the more you push to
Yeah.
the app, the less actual kiosks and hardware costs you need.
So they do have a mobile option. I don't know to what degree, how that works. If there's, if you have so many who get this, then you can cut by one pay station. I don't know how that part works, but they do have the ability, and they have a separate app that can be used by users to just pay on their mobile device. It depends. They let you choose. They can make it cashless. They can offer machines that take cards and bills, machines that take coins.
She's thinking cashless.
Yeah, I'm fine with
No, get
cards.
away
I
from-
don't want any cash.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Wait,
He was-
They'll rip on the ground.
Yeah.
John from T2 was explaining to me that that's fairly common these days. Is
Yeah.
going with cards.
Thinking a parking
only.
lot one would be even more convenient.
He brought up an interesting study that they talked about. I don't know who the organization was, but they basically did a survey nationwide, and surprisingly, there was 25%, talking round numbers here, of the population doesn't have a credit card or a bank card. He called it. There was a term for it, it's like banking deficient or something like that. There's a term for everything these days. But he did say that's why many cities do elect to put in machines that still take bills. But yeah, I think eventually, you see trucks backing up to convenience stores and yanking ATMs out of the lobbies.
Well, if it's on, it's just- Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Prime for that in the park there.
Do you know, is that 5G?
I would imagine they communicate via 5G. It's on the Verizon
Probably.
network, so
And I don't know.
I don't know, 4G or 5G.
mean,
I
I
suspect
don't know.
They're
they
not
won't be
gonna
putting
need-
up 5G in our area.
Not anytime soon. It's marketing. Sure, it's 5G.
Yeah.
Well,
We
if they
did-
charge you an arm and a leg, you'll come in and then they'll go, oh, it's gonna cost you to upgrade to 5G, right? Well, how much is that?
Yeah.
28,000?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I do remember when the boat launch kiosk needed to be upgraded from whatever was before 3G. Was it 2G?
One
I don't
XR,
know.
one XT,
Yeah.
It was-
one RXT.
It wasn't necessarily a cheap upgrade to
Oh, no.
get you. So that's what I have now.
What do you think about that kiosk down there?
I don't think it's gonna solve your problem with the people parking there from next door, right? I mean, if people choose to park there from the apartment complex, they're gonna not even bother.
Then they're gonna get a ticket, right?
Well, but are they?
But with that, they could get a ticket.
They could get it.
They could
The
get.
possibility exists.
I'm not gonna speak for the chief, but
I
I
know.
think parking enforcement is
It's
gonna be
high on the
low
list,
priority.
right?
Yeah.
Well, but I think that's the general gist of it is the extreme case where the
Yes.
person left their
Habitually,
car there for
yeah.
days and you're like, how do I deal with
Yeah.
this? Oh, I'm gonna put a car ticket on it, right?
Well, I'm just visualizing the officers with my ride-alongs. They're looking around what's going on. They just, if nothing's happening, they'll go through the parking lot and see what's happening and see if they have. I mean, it's not a priority, but they have the time to drive through and see who's.
That car's been there for a day.
Yeah.
I might check.
And that one night we only had 3 cars there.
I'm sure
In
they'll
the
be
evening,
happy
that
to
was
write up.
10:00 at night.
Well, we
so.
should get a mobile ticketing. Why does it take them any time other than taking a picture of the car, right?
I watched that Parking Wars show on TV.
I think you got to do something. You know,
I do. I hate to.
because you guys have been on public safety before, so you know.
Right. We talked about this numerous times before, for years,
What?
about doing something about the parking down there for the apartments when they will come
Yeah.
in
Oh, yeah.
when they bought the thing. And I know it's going to be an issue. We need to solve it before it gets next summer is my concern. Because as soon as it gets warm, we have no place to park and they've got 10, 15 people from the apartments visiting, they're all parked out in the parking lot. We have an issue.
Can we ticket now? I mean, isn't that parking lot closed from like
It is.
dusk till dawn?
Well, when I went around, they stop them, they ask them to get the car and go home. Go out there.
Right, but I mean, in the situation where the car's been there for 2 days, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
I'd have to look.
I
but
don't know.
It says no overnight parking.
Yeah. I
So
would
I don't know if they
imagine we
can
could
tow
ticket
off there or
now.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would use that first for a little bit.
Probably worth discussion with him, what he thinks is,
Yeah, sure.
because he's with POF, before with POF, and all parking meters and stuff. What's the right thing to do?
What's the demographic that's moving into those units?
I can tell you,
Higher income, I would think.
they're all
Stop
market
and ask the
values.
guys,
Todd
have you seen them?
What?
He lived
You
there.
stop and ask the guys, have you seen them? There's a group of old guys that are out there all the time,
Yeah.
underneath the trees,
Yeah.
wherever.
Actually, yeah, I guess I
It's-
have seen them. Right? I've run past there a couple
great.
times and those guys are all there.
Because you got that information, should we just push a little packet over to public safety and just get their opinion on it?
Be happy to, yeah,
See,
put
this
together
is
a
what
package.
So why 50 spots? That's what I want to know.
That was just his kind of judgment that they use when they're
Can you
designing
tell
these
them we want
systems.
one for 100?
We could actually purchase whatever number we wanted. I mean, he said that
sure.
they recommend that just because they found that in lots of locations where they put these in, it cuts down on wait times for people. Perhaps that wouldn't be an issue for us out in the park most of the year. In the summer, it might be. People might queue up a little bit while they're all waiting to pay for their parking spot, but is that a big deal?
Not like a downtown shopping area. They're all waiting
Right.
to park and shop
Yeah,
and
I
get
know.
out. I mean, they're going to stay there a little while, probably. Maybe 2 would make sense. You know, near the front, one near the back.
Yeah, I can see 2.
Mhm.
Right?
That'd be worthwhile doing a try for it, see how it works. We
Yeah.
spend $70,000 on the thing.
Right. I think if you did 2, you could see how many complaints you get, right? And if you don't get any complaints, you're golden. Get
Why
complaints,
don't you
can
take
add
that to
one
public
more.
safety for 2?
A bunch of
It's a
signs.
trial.
But the
Yeah,
Talking
that'll be the
about
hardest part.
The
Right?
signs talking about using an app.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can have those all along because that's going to be cheap. But and at the bottom of the sign, you can simply say, if you want to buy card, hike over that way.
You can also use a QR code.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just QR code and then their photo and
Everything's QR codes and TV now.
QR code. Everything's QR. That is. It went away and came
Yeah,
back.
take your camera and put this on channel 4. You know,
Yeah,
right
it
to
slowed
their
down. I
customers.
couldn't say it went away. It slowed down.
So I'll prepare a packet for Public Safety Committee then? Is that the direction?
Thank you.
Okay. We'll do that.
Next item we were looking at, of course, the future, the boat parking extension with, obviously, the full council will eventually get the whole, but I don't know if there's any new thought, because I'd heard that we were going to try to move that modular. And then it doesn't sound like maybe the full council wants to do that as much kind of thing. I don't know what's going to happen to it, because did you guys figure out where it's like hooked into and stuff? Because
The modular?
It's scabbed off of the big building apparently.
For power and, I believe so. I'm not really sure.
Are we getting rid of the big building? Is that what it
The
is?
big green sewer building and the modular at this point, my understanding is they'll remain on site where they're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all good.
That's for the parked vehicle.
But I think the modular significantly impacts what we were thinking about using for boat parking extension or something.
Well, that's, as of right now, the idea is the decision card that went through was to convert Field 4 to boat trailer parking. No action had really been decided other than demoing the buildings on the Public Works Center site. So we haven't really gone anywhere with that as far as providing parking up there.
So why do we want to demo an existing field and not use the demoed area up top, right?
Yeah, that was what we got to kind of look at whatever the plans, the needs. Because we had a number that what was it, 100 spaces or something that we were targeting?
With the conversions that we're talking about right now, I think you're somewhere closer to 60 spots. Is that correct, Jack? Yeah, that's
correct. 60 to 80.
That I think we were targeting like 100.
And that was an approximate to kind of match what we were providing at Moriarty.
Some kind of. So whether you get that by using, the entire field and you take it out, which I kind of agree is probably maybe extreme, because you can go straight back obviously, but then that's not going to get you. And then you got whether you go to the left, if you will, over the public works area, or you go to the right.
You got
take out
wetlands
the
over there too is a problem.
Yeah, you do. Right,
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean
how
that
you can get there easily is a problem.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
And
To get from Field 4 parking lot to the field.
Right. To the public works area.
From the you're not going to be able to get through vehicularly.
You take down the old city hall. They can't park there. The seniors park in that parking lot there as it right now. So that would you really need to get something.
I think
we need a senior houseboat.
I think with the proper engineering, you'd be able to accommodate senior center plus additional parking. I don't see that necessarily being a problem, but the idea of connecting Field 4 and the Public Works Center site, I don't think you're going to be able to provide a connection. They would have two separate entrances.
Because that's too much of the area there. So it's a wetland or whatever.
I've walked between there a couple times.
I don't know for certain on that, but that's just based on conversations I've had up till now. I just don't know if that would be feasible.
But until council comes to a conclusion on modular, it's that all space.
I think, again, we haven't really taken a hard look at it yet, but the Public Works Center site, there's a fair amount of space that'll become available when all the structures, except for the sewer and the modular, are removed, demolished. It will take a little bit of grading, to make some of that area accessible for parking, but there's a fair amount of area there.
What are you doing about your vehicle storage area that's there right now inside the fence area?
It's going to some degree go away. I mean,
take it all down.
Yeah. There will be, at this point, we were envisioning that there would be some parking left up in that corner for the park staff that would use the green building. And then we were thinking at one time that perhaps if the Historical Society were to go up there, there'd be some parking for them as well. We really haven't gone beyond that. One thing too just about the fields is I share your concern about getting rid of a field. With the construction of the new ballpark. Our net number of fields stays the same. We're getting rid of Field 4, but we are building a new multi-purpose field, across the park. But I met with Jack and I met with the Bonney Lake Little League president the other day, and he talked about how they use that field 4 for softball. And then Jack got I believe it was a phone call from another league that's looking for more field space. And they were told Allen York Park was the place to look. And so it sounds like regionally we're getting known as the place with all the ball fields, oddly enough.
Yeah, that
So
was the
there is
adult
something
league
to
with the
consider.
Y.
Yeah, well, that turf field, like I said, is, they're telling me that that is the only purpose field that's in the area.
Yeah, we were told the other day,
And lighted.
and lit. Yeah, we were told the other day by the Little League that we can expect to be deluged with reservation requests when that field is done. So I don't know
Are you
quite
ready,
what to
Jack?
prepare for yet, but it does sound like it's creating a lot of buzz.
She's like thinking, I gotta maintenance this
Yeah.
thing is a key factor, right?
Yeah. Well, there's like
As a-
3 fields in the area, and between Auburn and the summer school district and Kent, and they're running it from 7 a.m. to 11:30 at night, just full stream all during the week. So yeah, there's heavy use, and there's going to be a lot of use, I think, for this park too. And everyone's already starting to try to claim it a little bit. So it is what it is.
Imagine
So how are we gonna manage the lights after like 9 PM?
I think that's something that we're going to have to consider. How late do you want to rent the field? That's more of a rhetorical question at this point. But if we're renting the field out and games aren't ending till 10 o'clock at night, the expectation is that the lights are on that long, at least. So, we're going to definitely have to set up. Jack and I have talked about. I know he's been putting a lot of thought towards what will the operational rules and regulations be. What are we willing to
Well, I
entertain
told
as
you I
far
was
as
concerned
rentable
about the
times?
neighbors
Yeah.
right behind. They got those expensive homes there now. They got the huge lights in the backyard. They're really interesting what happens. Yeah, those are pricey homes back there.
They
Right
know.
behind it. They know it, but I mean,
Yeah, to be honest with you, I felt like an idiot for not going to those people.
They
And
are,
knocking
because
on
there's
the door
zero
for the
cutoff
vote,
ones.
right? And
So
going,
you won't get the.
do you know we're
glare
gonna do
and
this,
whatever,
right?
but you'll still
I
kind of
didn't think there'd be
see,
See it.
all that big.
but it won't be like that.
Oh, that's all.
It won't be going into their home.
Right.
Yeah, well, when I read
They'll see it.
when I read the plan though, it said that the field was sunk and that the berm was intended to hide the noise.
Oh, it is a little bit, but I'm like, this thing, it looks like it's above
Yeah.
almost. No, I haven't like walked it around.
Yeah, I haven't.
Because there is
been
a
on
big wall
property,
over on
but-
that one side now.
Yeah. To a certain degree, I think some of the topography that's been designed for that location was to help with that in practice. We'll see what it really does. I don't know.
You're smiling.
I'm not going to make any guarantees about anything.
Never know until you know.
Yeah,
Those big
exactly.
concrete walls in the freeway
Yeah.
to stop the noise.
Yeah, we could have done that.
Might be in
That
the
would have been
future.
Might have
attractive.
to in the
There's
future.
only really what, kind of two, there's kind of three-ish
Yeah,
homes.
right. Okay.
That will be fun. So we got that. The next steps on our boat trailer thing are probably where, because Gwen asked a lot of questions about it. Is that kind of like you got to finalize the budget and then you're going to start engaging some kind of a consultant on?
Design.
And is-
yeah.
Do you think that the comp plan, that person that Jason hired is going to have any ability to help with looking at something there? Or?
At this point, the direction we
so.
gave that
'Cause
consultant
they were
was to
doing-
consider this a
They were doing
fixed
some
point.
stuff with parks, right?
Yeah, they're going to be looking at
Okay.
Allen York Park, and so
Yeah.
we asked
what
them.
we have today.
Yeah,
I think.
and
Tell us
to
what
include
we
a new parking lot up there as part of what we currently have. Because we had to give them something to work around, and at this point, we're assuming
Sure.
that the decision card will continue on
Yeah.
and be approved with the final vote on the budget.
Mhm.
So at this point, yeah, they're assuming there will be a parking lot there. But yeah, to answer your question, Dan, next steps, we'll wait for the budget to get approved, and then we'll engage with a consultant.
Exciting.
And we can talk about ballpark 4 more later on.
To a certain degree, but at this point, the direction we're hearing is if the budget's approved, it's going to be a parking lot. So I don't know what conversations are you hoping to have.
Well, like Kelly's concerned about, should we really tear up the ball field that we have? And as you start moving people out, there's something light bulbs. But this would make more sense to put a parking lot for trailers over here someplace.
I guess
as you see the whole scope and the open as it opens up.
I guess what I would say in response to that is that's a pretty fundamental decision that I thought had been made with the approval of the decision card. So if there's the only reason I'm pointing that out is that if there's still discussion about whether you want to give up that field or not, then staff, we need to know.
I think
about
there
that.
really is, because
Yeah.
in my brain, that the decision that I made was we need money to build a parking lot. And then I think prudence would dictate that if, and given the timing, it wasn't clear when Public Works was going to be out of there or to what extent. But prudence would say, first convert that area that just became available to a parking lot and see how that affects demand. Right?
The existing
there-
parking lot that's
Well,
being converted out. Is that what
did
you're
Well,
talking
we
about?
have that. That's done,
Yeah.
right? And people are parking in there.
Yeah.
I've seen boat trailers in there already, right? So, but no, I'm talking about like the Public Works Center.
Oh,
I would convert that first.
Yeah.
This is just me. This is just me because
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
full of ideas, right? But I would just convert that first and see how that helps demand,
Yeah.
because we really don't know what the demand is,
mhm.
right? How that affects demand, because it would be like, it would be a shame to, pave ball field 4, right? And then go, well, maybe we didn't need to do that. Maybe
Because
we
there's a
didn't
lot
have
more
enough.
area in the ball field 4, that isn't necessary for a ball field 4, right?
Right.
There's a lot of
Right.
extra.
I think it would be
That's-
worth us meeting.
Sorry, that's the only decision.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
council asked for that
Yeah.
decision card to come
Right.
forward, so
Right.
that's why it came forward that way.
Right. And that was really more about allocating the
Funding.
money, right? As opposed to,
They were
But
specifically
that
told
sum though was
to put
developed
that, yeah,
based on
that-
that area being converted
We've
though.
got a
So
few that are just
It's not to
more
say you can't
ball
change
park-
it, but it was
ball-
council
trailer
initiated.
parking.
That was the importance of the nuance of the language, because I don't think, I wouldn't have made a decision that said that, yeah, we're going to get rid of ball field 4 and make it a parking lot.
I would like us to go down and have a meeting like we did before in the parking lot. Jack, weren't you there with that? We talked about the trailer parking down there.
Mhm.
We walked around and physically saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kelly would benefit from it, and I've only been through the little trail that goes up to from the parking lot to Public Works and stuff. So
So next CDC is a roving meeting?
Sounds like it's an outside
You
meeting.
better bring your coat.
So
Nothing
what we
wrong
can do
with
is
that.
we can
Or
certainly
if
set
you
up a
call,
meeting for that.
Email us if anyone meets me there. We can do
Yeah.
this. And,
We can certainly do that. Just know that if we are to do something else, that it could change the amount that's been estimated
Sure.
and was included
Sure.
as part of the decision part is
Yeah.
all. I think your point is well taken, and that's why at different times you've heard staff say, "Hey, in the Allen York Park Master Plan, the Public Works Center site is identified as parking."
Yeah.
right.
So
Oh, I heard that.
yeah. Yeah, so I just bring that up as like, certainly that's something that can be entertained. And if you'd like us to schedule a meeting for CDC members, I guess we got to be careful how many attend, or it's
Yeah.
a
I
public
think
meeting,
it
right?
might be on our CIP tonight, so maybe
Oh,
time
okay.
to discuss it.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
like, if it's
Well-
just 3 of you saying,
We'll definitely mention, oh yeah, we
Yeah.
got to get full council approval on anything. Definitely, it's a good idea,
yeah, I
Sharon,
think
thanks.
it's on your.
So we'll kind of stand by on scheduling a meeting out there maybe until after we hear more discussion tonight.
Yeah.
On the topic, whatever you'd like. You can.
I
shoot
know
me
they
an
want
email.
the trailer parking, so that's why the rest of them are so important to make more room. But if we can come back and say, we can get as many trailers over here and do this and say the ball field,
Yeah.
and Kelly would understand better, so would I, about what's being taken away and what we have available to us. We're just doing this from our but haven't walked. I think it helps. It makes a big difference to walk the field. Just like I did a long time ago about Easttown, what was out there, the property and stuff.
Well, at the very least, in my head, I would think we'd want to do like a phased approach, right? Rather
Yeah.
than
Oh, yeah.
just whack everything
Yeah.
and go, oh, well,
Guess we could have.
guess we could have kept part of it, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't, yeah.
Well, can't we approve it and make a change later on?
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's-
because-
It's just whether the amount you approve is adequate
Right,
for the
right.
project that you
Right.
select.
So is there a process for bringing forward
Got lots of money.
requests for more money if a project
We can
needs
get more money.
help?
Yeah, certainly.
I mean-
Sherry can make anything happen.
Well,
She has,
Yeah.
she has more money for us.
Your tax fund is almost, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
depending on how much money we're talking, having a savings, yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
Talking about more money, maybe.
Well, I would think it would probably, I don't know how much extra. I was thinking that would actually be less money as well.
You would think so. But I don't know. There's stormwater issues and wetlands
There's-
issues and whatever else. Eagle issues and
There's, at the Public Works Center site, if you're going to convert that to parking,
lot.
you've got some significant grading to kind of lay it out even, which would probably require retaining walls. There's tree removal. There's,
Jack, how much you make off those ball fields anyway? Rental of the ball fields.
nothing.
A lot of
it's
utility
not
removals.
much.
Utility removal.
Versus
Yeah.
2,000?
nothing. Not much at all.
I
Okay.
can give you
Asphalt,
that number,
It's not
but
much
it's
at
not
all.
much.
You'll be able to make a lot
But at
more
least
off
we
the
get the
turf
project
field, that's
and
for
that
sure.
fiber
That'll be a
now.
premium.
We should charge more for it too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Rates.
It's just overtime.
You guys should do that in finance or what? You'll have to look at it again. So if you're gonna move
That's a
on.
good discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have more of it tonight, apparently, maybe at full council. So the Emerald Hills Elementary School, of course, is like, it looked, they did some stuff with utility undergrounding at one point and then kind of stopped. And it looks like they might have been dinking around again with it a little bit. Does anybody know?
So this one was a little bit painful to dig into. There's a story here, as there often is with things like this. So Emerald Hills, of course, we all remember that recently was new school was built. This was going through permit review back late 17 into 18. Turns out that this particular run of above ground power, and I got a picture here you can pass around along West Taps, was not called out for undergrounding during the review process. However, as we moved to construction, staff did bring up the concern that, hey, we didn't account for this, but you're required to do this. My understanding from talking with Doug and then looking at some documentation is that the school district was not happy and reached out to our former mayor, and that there were conversations and staff was told to basically leave it alone.
Sure, yeah.
So, it's at this point, that's why that's still standing, is because it was removed as an obligation of the schools districts.
Because they still have, work that they've actually done for that. There's like
For undergrounding this power?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know about that run in particular, but there's some like the telco pieces. You're over on the corner there, and then another underground power thing where you can see they put a conduit underneath going across or something like that. And they have like these big plates sitting around. Where
Yeah,
they're-
I'd have to take a look. I don't know
Yeah.
the status of any of that, but
So I don't know if they're waiting for telco to finish some of that. Telco's always the pain in the yin yang.
yeah, I don't know. We could dig into it a little further, just talk to the school district and see where they're at. I know at this point, though, they definitely have been directed that is not something they will have to do.
Right. Yeah.
So
Like,
I'm
oh,
sure
well,
whatever it
that's-
is they're still doing, it's
So
like.
is there a
not bad.
regulation that says it? I thought we had a regulation that said that you had to put it underground.
We did. It's a legal requirement that you have to underground utilities on those.
Okay,
That's what the lawyer
it's
said.
pretty straightforward, right?
Sure, but that's reality, or that's whatever you want to call it. And then there's like reality.
We forgot to tell them that.
No, we didn't forget to tell him that. But whatever, they're working with it. It's
Say-
one of those rub, nudge, things.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, what about these plates out
My,
here?
my understanding is that the superintendent
So
and
much fun.
the former mayor came to an understanding. I
I
understand.
have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I could hear the understanding.
Yeah. So that's good on that one. Yay.
So that's the results on that one.
Thank you. I'll move along to, if I could,
Yes.
to the telephone pole to Alan York. I was seeing it because it's my favorite. You call him the woodcock pole or something like
That's
that,
right.
right? And on the one corner. Because I gather one of them's like power and one of them's telco sitting there right beside each other.
Yeah. So we're talking about
Yeah.
these here.
And since it's my understanding that the city's going to do some more stuff there, that they can tell telco that, hey, you need to underground your.
So in talking with PSE, It's funny how this
PSCs,
works, considering what we
power.
were just talking about. At this point in time right now, if we desire to underground that, to have the poles removed, the city would need to pay to dig the trenching, put in the conduit, underground the utility.
Yeah.
PSC would be happy to come out and pull their wire through it.
Yep.
But the cost to make this all go away at this point would be on the city. The history behind that was a little hazy. I couldn't figure out why that was still
power, right?
there.
Yeah.
For-
That's
for
pretty
power.
clear. And then sometimes there's a split or whatever. If you want to underground it, don't they pay like 40 or something, and we pay 60 or something?
I think what you're
For power, something like that. But anyways, there's
Depends
a
on the
cost that we
circumstance,
wouldn't
but
want to pay for power. But the telco, my understanding is that the city can go to, when their city's doing construction in the area, they could go, hey, by the way, that pole, we're going to have to, telco is required at their cost to.
I'd want to confirm that with our franchise
I don't know.
agreement, but and PSC did believe that there was some telco on there of some
It's on
kind,
the
which
separate
is
pole,
would be
though,
this
right?
one right here.
Because it's a separate pole for telco.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at, is I'm thinking that, you have the hammer with telco to go to those guys and say, hey, you need to move your pole. We're going to be doing some ADA and yada yada there in the future.
It looks like on one side of the street you've got the power and you've got the telco, and then they both come to the same
Yeah,
pole on the
yeah.
other side of the
Because
street. so.
if they were in there doing that, then it's kind of like, oh well, maybe they're gonna see, but I don't know. It's a gigantic mess.
Again,
To say the
if the desire is to see if we can get to the point where we've got something that we can make happen here, I'm happy to look into it further.
It's one of those like, yeah, okay, issues, right? It's like, yeah, okay, if we can find out
It costs that much.
if
no,
a
but
truck
it's
backs
possible,
over
yeah.
it, someday, yeah, you gotta know what the
Things
options
happen.
are, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
tree fell down.
Hasn't the guy with the sailboat moved?
Has he? Was that? I don't know. Because that was
I
one
just remember
issue
this
was
conversation
one,
from years ago. Either
some kind of weird deal.
yeah,
where he
some guy
couldn't-
that had a
couldn't,
catamaran
like,
with
yeah,
his mast
couldn't
and
get
he had to
in
drive
there.
all the way around the lake to launch his boat.
Yeah, that was weird, huh? Yeah. The other one to me is the easier next issue that I had on there was a power pole at Safeway. That was completely unused. It's in the sidewalk.
And talking with PSC, they're adding that to their list, and we'll remove it. So we got one.
So we got one.
We got one.
We got
Yes.
50%. We're good.
Yeah,
That's a win.
So I went out there and took some pictures and sent them off to our
It's like-
municipal liaison.
send it
He
forever.
did some conversations on his end, and they came back and said, "Oh yeah,
I don't know
well
why
we
that's
should have
there.
pulled that out a long time
I
ago. It
know.
hasn't been used in years."
The only reason I mention it is because it's in the sight line. When that intersection is in the sight line.
So we will be at some point here in the near future. Jeff Payne told me they will be pulling that one out.
Patelco will be showing up with their chainsaw.
That's right. Take it out.
And sidewalk repair in front of Midas. That's that old one, and I don't know what. There was some issues with several sidewalks.
And I
At
did-
one point in time, we had a proposal to fix.
I
and
did
then-
make copies here for you all
Oh,
on
did you-
this.
Did you send them a letter or something?
So
to
they
say,
did get a
"Oh,
letter and notice the
Oh,
date,
okay.
January 2020.
Oh, yeah.
And we
Yeah.
gave them a certain amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Okay.
frankly, everything went
Sure.
south on us.
Oh, yeah.
And so this one just kind of dropped off the radar. I looking at the letter, Jack and I need to spend a little bit of time looking at this. Our code is a little hazy when it comes to how this is managed and who's responsible for
yeah.
what.
Yeah.
The trees are in the right of way, but it looks like from the letter that John put together, they have been maintaining them. I'd like a little bit more clarity there.
Uh-huh.
At first blush, when I look at this, if the trees are in the right of way, that means they're ours. And if they're the ones doing the damage to the sidewalk, then I would say that's probably on us. But I need to gain a little bit more clarity there. Jack, I don't know if you had anything to add on this one. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Feel
No,
free to
you're
say
good.
no.
Well, anyway.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. No, I did read the code and I looked at it, and there was no distinct language of saying that the adjacent property owner would actually have to repair it, other than if they actually caused damage, kind of like Ryan alluded to. If they actually impacted the actual sidewalk, then yes, they are responsible for maintaining it. But I don't think there was anything that's showing that it was actually something that they did, especially when you have that indication in your hand that shows that it's actually within our right of way. That it'd be kind of a hard argument for us to make, I think.
Yeah, because it's the trees that kind of lifted the sidewalk, I would assume, I guess, right?
Yeah, and this is happening in several areas, obviously, around town. It's not uncommon or unheard of that cities have code that language that says, hey, you know, clearly, if it's your stuff causing the damage, you need to replace this. So there may be an opportunity here for us to evaluate our code and come forward
Sure,
with some
that's
improvements.
probably a thing we'll look at, right? Because if the tree is a right-of-way tree or whatever, then how does that work with that kind of a situation?
If the tree's in the right of way,
Well, yeah, because if you have a sidewalk and a tree and a road, you know, and the
Mhm.
tree, how does that the city say that, oh, yeah, even, is it property owner?
if in that case, if the tree is in the right of way, you know, we own it, and if it's the one causing the damage, that's on us.
Yay.
So that's the status on that. Not the brightest. It's
No,
just
yeah.
this is kind of a COVID fatality. When other things started happening, we just
Stories there, yeah.
let it go.
Yep, good, thank you very much. We had the conversation about the capital piece of that, and that's probably a larger conversation, of course, with the council and how we go about that, because
And
Me and the
I've
sewer
already
agreement.
provided our new city attorney a copy of the agreement and let her
Oh,
know about our conversations
Sure.
with the Capitol. On our last joint advisory committee meeting, we talked about kicking that off after the first of the year,
Yeah.
meeting with Sumner to read.
yeah, it's just kind of a strange thing, because it's not very straightforward, and it's kind of like, okay, if they want to, I don't know, what the impact would be of like, oh yeah, go ahead, do whatever you want, we're not paying for it. You know, meaning not paying up front for it, but then, of course, they obviously get a bill us later for it, but
Do they?
do they or don't they, right? Yeah,
As far
I
as-
didn't
exactly.
think they could.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, right?
As far as
You-
project expenses,
Yeah.
or
Well, because it's not capacity improvement, so they can, you know, spend whatever money they want, but we only have to pay for our portion of their budget according to the way I
correct?
understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so she's reviewing it and she knows
it's kind of
it's
weird,
a
huh?
topic for
Yeah.
future discussion.
There's just openings there.
I think there's definitely room to take a look at the language and come up with some improvements.
I wouldn't see why our charges in the end for our customers weren't very similar to what Sumner's.
like the monthly rate.
Yeah, there's a significant, you know, amount of lift station maintenance that we have on our system that they don't, or whatever. I think we have twice as many lift stations. But other than that, you know,
Have the most in the county.
sewer, so didn't our customers see a bill that was very much like Sumner's that's going in the same? No?
I don't know, Dan. I think
That one.
Because
I understand what you're saying. Absolutely. I think that and we've had this conversation before on different items. Every utility system is unique, right?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And certainly our arrangement with Sumner is a very unique one. So I don't know that I could say with certainty that our rate should be necessarily the same. The one thing to look at, though, is that, you know, our rate is composed of a base fee plus the consumption volumetric in
Yeah.
sewer. That volumetric part,
Yeah.
how does that compare to?
Sure, yeah, we're
Volumetric.
probably gonna end up getting rid of that, unfortunately. See when that rate thing comes. I like the volumetric because it's very equitable. I know, I hate that word. But people don't understand it.
When it's used in a mathematical context, equity is very easily understood.
Oh, really? Oh, good. Then I'll leave that argument up to you. Thanks. So I guess we can adjourn anyway.
Bye, Jack.
Thank you. Thanks, Jack.